and players smiling.
But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in. 51 for Jayson Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Big Three NBA podcast. I'm Kwani Lunis, Sherrod Blakely, Gary Washburn. I get to spend the most important day of the year to me.
The day after Valentine's Day, that's when you get candy cheap candy.
Not the day after Valentine's Day. That's your token.
Cheap
This
candy.
is also a side chick day? No. Actually, it's my birthday. So this is, I don't like that my birthday falls on side chick day. I do want to say that because it's just not a good look.
I wasn't going to say nothing about that particular aspect of your birthday, Kwani. I think does Kwani know that this is like SC Day?
It's not great. I was thinking about that last week. I don't know. It's not a good look for us. So unfortunately, that's the only flaw with my birthday, but it is a great day. I appreciate that I can spend it with the two of you on our pod.
Appreciate it, Kwani.
Gary, again, unimpressed, but it's okay.
No, happy birthday, Kwani. Honestly, in all sincerity, it's a great day.
Aw.
It's an all right day. It's been all right.
I got to get that clip of Gary saying something nice to us. Well, to me, really, not you.
Yeah, yeah.
You always got crap to talk
I think, honestly, Kwani, I think Michael B. Jordan just have a birthday too. I think I saw that. He's like 37.
I'm literally looking it up. Let's see.
He's like 37.
Yikes. You're right. The first article I see also says Michael B. Jordan wakes up at 5:30 a.m. and doesn't drink coffee. We're the same. Oh my gosh.
You should meet him one. You should try to meet him one day.
We've been there, done that. Didn't work. He got the Heisman. He got the Kwani Heisman that day.
I'm just saying, you should try to meet him one day.
I feel like in 30 years, this story is going to have evolved to a point where the urban legend is that he proposed and I said no. Because every time we have this conversation,
that's how I remember it.
Not accurate. I did not curb Michael B. Jordan. For all those who are listening, it's not true. I deny those claims.
She totally did.
I did not.
She did.
That man was like, really?
One day we'll have him on the podcast to see if he even remembers who I am. He definitely won't remember me. So
I'm pretty sure he's going to remember you because I'm pretty sure that exchange has not happened to him very often in his life.
No.
All right, we'll see. Michael B. Jordan, one day we need you on this podcast to clear up all the allegations because I do not.
He's going to be on a plane flying to Boston and he's going to see the hub today and he will be like, wait a minute.
That's that shit.
That's her. That's her. There she is.
Well, look, hopefully we're still on good terms. He's not mad about that. If he really does think I curbed him.
Goodness.
Again, I did not do that. But anyway, moving on. I know this is not what you guys wanted to listen to, our viewers and listeners, but here we are. You're stuck with us. We're going to talk about crazy stuff every once in a while. Let's talk about the Celtics. They shredded the Nets. It was honestly a very embarrassing game to the point where I felt bad watching it. I think they should have just stopped the game at that point. But the Celtics are officially at the NBA All-Star break. They have the best record right now. Jayson Tatum on and off the court doing so many things. Those are the big three things that we're going to talk about. And then the fourth one also big three. But four, also we're going to talk about Mazzulla in this episode. But let's start with the Nets embarrassing themselves, really. But I mean, do we even want to talk about this game? Because it just, what did you guys take away from? Is there anything we can take away from this?
The Celtics didn't have a let up. I mean, to me, that's the big takeaway, that they could have easily, had the bags packed at the lockers before the game, thinking about what they're going to do afterwards. But rather than succumb to what I think a lot of teams, really good teams, do this time of year, which is just let their guard down, they just went out there and just delivered a smackdown of smackdowns. I think they're one of only 5 teams in NBA history that have had multiple wins by 50 or more points in the same season. The Celtics are, I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but they're pretty damn good when they want to be. And we're seeing now, more nights than not, they don't just want to beat you. They trying to crush you. They trying to snatch your soul and leave you just leave you wondering, damn, I'm an NBA player, but
am I?
Those are NBA players in Boston. And the thing I liked about it is it gave a lot of guys who normally don't play much a chance. I mean, one of the first subs they made was Jordan Walsh. I don't know if Jordan, I mean, you got to go back to when he was in college the last time he saw action that early. And give him credit. He did, he did some good things defensively. I thought picked up a couple of rookie fouls, that type of stuff. But bottom line is they had so many different guys that stepped in and just absolutely smashed the Nets all game long.
Yeah, I think what you can take away is the focus, because if you look at the first game, they dominated, and then the Nets made a run and they were able to hold on for an 8-point win, although they were up 23 in the third quarter. But they took care of business on the road. And the Nets, they got talent. They're a team that's obviously preparing for the future. But, they got Mikal Bridges, Dennis Schroeder, the high-scoring Cam Thomas. They had Cam Johnson in the second game, Dorian Finney-Smith. They have capable NBA players. So that team, if you let them, can beat you. So I thought the trap game was the Tuesday game at Brooklyn. They came and they dominated. Jayson Tatum had 31 in the first half and ended up with 41. And they were able to hold on. And I thought, okay, now with Cam Johnson back for that back-to-back, and I think maybe the Nets preparing a little bit and the Celtics maybe having that kind of like, hey, we're one game from the end of the first half and I thought it was going to be a much tougher game. But it just wasn't. 30-15 after the first quarter, then a 22-0 run. I think they put them up, I want to say like 52-17, and it was like, okay, wow. And they kind of, the last 2.5 quarters was garbage time pretty much, right? So the Celtics focused. They played well. They got contributions, Peyton Pritchard. Tatum didn't have to play a bunch of minutes, and he didn't play the fourth quarter. Porzingis didn't play the second half to rest his ankle. So I think an all-around successful end. And I'm not saying that if they would have lost the game, the season would have gloom and doom, but it's just always good. And although Mazzulla tried to downplay it, it's always good to go on the break and feel like, hey, we're playing good ball. 6 in a row since that loss to the Lakers. They've responded. And, they had a couple of clunkers in that homestand, the Lakers game and the Clippers game. But I think they've been able to respond to that. And then now they can enjoy their weekends, and Jason and Jalen can enjoy the All-Star weekend, and Joe can take his sabbatical and look at game tape and figure out what they can do. But it's a good chance for them to take a deep breath, get some rest, and then be back next Thursday. And I think that that's a good thing when you're winning, when you're coming off a win, especially a dominant win.
So to your point, both of your points, they do have the best record right now. I do agree with the fact that, heading into a little mini sabbatical break is a good way to keep them, the spirits alive. But how do you think when they come back from this break, how do they keep that momentum alive?
What you think, Gary?
Well, I think they need to just continue to do what they do. And also, the stretch is coming, and they got to start taking every opponent seriously. And, they got the Chicago Bulls, and the Bulls have given them trouble. Now, the Bulls didn't give them much trouble earlier this season, but the Bulls are a capable ball club. They're playing a lot better than they did a couple of months ago. And you just got to start punching fools in the mouth, punching first, making a statement. They got the Knicks after that on the road. So this is not an easy stretch. Then they got the Sixers, then the Mavericks, then the Warriors, then Cleveland, then Denver, Phoenix, Portland. Obviously take away Portland, but those first 8 games are difficult. No gimmies. Even the Warriors coming in. You don't know what Steph going to do, and Draymond and Clay, they can get back to their old form for that one day. So you got a challenging schedule And they're going to need what you want to do is the work you put in now. You're 6 games up on the Cleveland Cavaliers with 27 to play. You want to make it easy on yourself. You don't want any intrigue in those final 2 weeks. I think their goal, they should want to get to 60 wins. I think that would be a good accomplishment for this team. I think they haven't won 60 in probably since the 08 team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they won 60 in 09. But the 08 team, I think, is the last time they won 60. So 60 wins. But you also want to be able to get guys some rest in the last 2 weeks where every game isn't, oh my God. And you want to get Porzingis off his feet. You want to get Tatum a breather. You want to get Brown a breather. You want to let those guys like the Jordan Walshes and the Pritchards and even the new guys, the Springers and the Tillmans get some real burn and real run. So that's what you're working at now. So I think just come back with a focus because that schedule, everybody says, the schedule's getting softer. Like maybe the Brooklyn games, but Chicago is not something to sleep, over, not something that you should look over. And then the Knicks on Saturday night, ABC game. And then, I'm looking, then the Sixers. I don't think Embiid will be back by then, but they're still a challenge. And then the Mavericks with Luka, and then Golden State, then a road trip, then a 6-game road trip or 5-game road trip. So it's going to get difficult. And what you want to do as a Celtics is just put a lot of those wins away and then make the last 2 weeks easier for yourself. And I think, and prepare for the postseason. You have a chance to get the number 1 seed, something they've had over a few years, but most of the time they've been the number 2 seed. But you want to be that number 1 seed, every home court advantage, the easiest playoff road, make it easy on yourself, and then go from there. Last year they were number 2 seed. This year you want to be the number 1 seed, get that seed and then then be ready for the playoffs. So very important stretch from the February 24th, Chicago, for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, the next couple of weeks, Gary, you're spot on that. It's going to be challenging. But when you look at that backstretch of the schedule, my goodness. I mean, get Jayson Tatum a napkin because he might be drooling at the weak competition that they're going to be able to devour. You got the Hawks a couple times. You got the Hornets a couple times. You've got, Utah plays them scrappy, but Utah, they're not a very talented team. There's a lot. Wizards, I think they play them twice. They've got a lot of just games that they're going to have to take the mindset they had, in this last game against Brooklyn at the very end of the season. You're playing bad teams. That doesn't mean you got to play bad because they're bad. They're going to have to keep that edge about them. And then that's the one thing that, again, I think the way the schedule is playing out, that really I don't think is going to be a problem because they're going to have to hit the ground running because of the talented teams that they got right at the bat. And if they're able to hold their own and win most of those, then you get to the point where 60 wins seems like pretty much a given. If you can go 500 the next couple of weeks or better than 500, which is very reasonable, that end of the season run when you're resting guys, even when you're keeping guys like Tatum, keeping their minutes down or not playing them at all, you're playing a lot of teams that you could beat without them. And that, if you're Joe Mazzulla, the best part about that, not only are you giving yourself a chance to obviously win and rest your guys, but you're also strengthening that second unit so that in case you need to go with a Peyton Pritchard on a night where maybe Drew Holiday gets into foul trouble and you got to play Peyton maybe 25, 30 minutes. He's going to have some experience and some comfort level playing those kind of minutes with that first group or a hybrid version of that first group. Same thing with Sam Hauser. Same thing with Luke Cornett. You want to make sure that those guys, this last 27 games, those guys are the ones that you really need to get some run and some reps because you're good enough to where your starters should be able to build enough of a cushion so that you can go with those guys. And for some nights, you don't even need them to play, and you still should be able to win. So it's going to be interesting to see how Joe handles that because, and Gary, you and Kwani, you both know this. You got a lot of guys in the Celtics team that don't like to miss games. Tatum has made it absolutely crystal clear that he ain't trying to miss that many games. And yet, that in a perfect world, in a realistic world, he should sit some of these games out. They don't need him to beat Washington.
Yeah.
They don't need even to be Atlanta. Well, maybe Atlanta, they could be a little scrappy.
Yeah.
But the point is, your best players should be using this time and this is where load management should be something that's very real for the Celtics, because they're as good as they are and as dominant as they've been this season. They're not going to win a championship unless they have that core group ready to roll come playoff time. And anything you can do to maximize the opportunities for them to be healthy as possible come playoff time, that's the strategy you need to roll with.
I love that point that you make. I think obviously that blowout to the Nets was a perfect time for them to test their depth. Obviously not the greatest, gauge of how good they are, considering the Nets weren't that great either.
Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's right, that's $150 if your bet wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel/Boston and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
One, do you think the depth of this team will correlate to my second question, whether or not the Celtics are the best team in the NBA? Other than their record, are they the best team?
Yeah. They check off all the boxes that you want to have as a championship team. They've got the kind of experience having gone through heartbreak and not winning it all. And they've had the success that comes about when you exceed expectations and you go deeper than. So they know what it feels like from an emotional standpoint. You're not going to rattle them emotionally come playoff time because they've seen all the peaks and valleys that come with playoff basketball. You have addressed the two biggest flaws in your roster from a year ago. You needed another stretch big, and you needed another two-way player defensively in that backcourt. And you got the best on-ball defender in Drew Holiday. And you got Porzingis, who has shown time and time and time again, he is a mismatch waiting to happen. Teams have had trouble matching up with him when they go smaller guys on him. He eats them up. They go with size. He gives that little pump fake and little pull-up J. He goes into his bag and he comes up with winning plays consistently. You've added those two elements to your team, plus you've got experience. And the thing about Jayson Tatum, I think Tatum is finally not only embracing the concept that sometimes less is more in terms of points from him, but he's actually making the kind of plays that the really, really great players make. He had 20 points the other night against Brooklyn. He could have easily had 30. Everybody on the damn team could have easily had 30. But Tatum exactly. Tatum made so many just smart basketball plays. And when you start looking at his numbers in a grand scale, you see the assist numbers. Not only are the assist numbers going up, but just the hockey assist numbers are also going up. He's been a more complete player. And that is what's, I think, the scary part for opponents, is because if Jayson Tatum is giving you buckets and he's finding guys who can also give you buckets, you can't help off anyone. Now, all of a sudden, you are at the Celtics' mercy. And again, I like I said, I think that they're built in a way that gives them the most optimal chance of winning an NBA title with this group.
Yeah, I think, if you really, it all depends on how you judge it, but I do think they're the best team in the NBA at this point. I mean, I look at their record, their schedule. They've only lost one game in a row, more than one game in a row once. They lost two in a row once. They have not had any prolonged losing streaks this season, not 4 in a row. Every other team has gone through a bad stretch. The Celtics have lost, they lost to the Clippers, they lost to the Nuggets. They're not playing their supreme premium best basketball right now. I think they're starting to approach that again. And I think that's another good sign for them to kind of, they lost to the Lakers. They've lost to some team, they lost some games they could have won, or should have won. But I also think, this team always bounces back from a loss. They always seem to come back. Literally, they have not lost more than one in a row since November. They had that 2-game losing streak where they lost to Philly and Minnesota, and that's it. Everything else is just a single loss. Their top 3 in the league in defensive rating and offensive rating. They're playing good ball, and their depth is coming in. Peyton Pritchard has played a lot better than has obviously had a slow start. Hauser, Luke Cornett giving them quality minutes. You look at the bench, you look at the guys, that can help out. And we haven't even seen Tillman yet or Springer. And I think that Tillman's going to give them some real quality minutes, especially to spell Porzingis. Al Horford's still playing well, and they're keeping him fresh by not playing him back-to-back. So everything is going the way it should go, right? You look at all the other teams in the East pretty much. The Bucks are kind of a mess. They got completely wasted by Miami the other night at home. Miami without Jimmy Butler, without Josh Richardson, and without Terry Rozier, because two of those guys got hurt against the Celtics. Philadelphia just lost at home to Miami. And I couldn't even recognize some of the guys they had on the floor. Ricky Council IV and Buddy Hield plays for them now. You're like, wait a minute, like, who are these guys besides Maxey? And Tobias Harris was out. The Knicks, after that controversial loss, I don't know if you all saw that call against the Houston Rockets in the last minute. They're struggling. They went and lost at Orlando, and they don't have Julius Randle. Cleveland, is playing well. They're playing the best. They held off Chicago, so that'll be a really key game when the Celtics go down to Cleveland in early March. But if you're the Celtics, everything is laying out the way you want. You're 6 games up of the second place team. I think they're 10 games up on Philadelphia. Like, they are, I don't say boat racing, but they are making themselves nice and comfortable to get that number 1 seed. And I just think the depth should help down the stretch. And then still they have another open roster spot. You don't know what they're going to do with that roster spot. They might transfer Kata's contract to a standard NBA deal. We'll see I think they're going to take a long look at Tillman to see if they really need Kata on the playoff roster. You don't know how it's all going to work out, but I do think that everything's worked very well for them, and the depth has really helped, where they don't need Jayson Tatum to go 40 points every night. Maybe that's why he's not in the MVP conversation, because he's not averaging 48 points a game, because he doesn't need to. He had 20 points in the win over, and they scored 130-something points, and he had 20, and Jaylen Brown didn't play. So, that's not going to get you MVP awards when you're not putting up the great numbers, but when you're on a great team, you don't need to put up the great numbers because you don't need that to win. They don't need to jump on Tatum's back every night. So kind of a catch-22 for Tatum's MVP hopes, but I think he'd rather have a championship. So
and a finals MVP won't hurt.
Yeah, I think he's okay. And I saw an interview with Jamal Murray, who might be the best player ever, never to make an All-Star game. He's on that list of top 10, and on our friend, I told him last night, Cedric Maxwell's on that list. He's the best players. And Max agreed with me what Murray said. Well, you want a guy who's going to have a great first half. You want a guy that's going to step up and step it up in the playoffs. And that's what I'm about. I'm about the playoffs. And that's what Tatum needs to say. Hey, you can, okay, Luka, take the MVP, and you'll be getting it when you're at home, and I'll be, preparing for my next, Eastern Conference Finals game, trying to, get my team to the finals. So that's the way Jayson has to look at it. I know he wants the MVP, but I think a championship will do just fine. I think he'll take that instead.
I think so. So quickly, before we talk a little bit more about Jayson Tatum, we'll play a game of fill in the lane. Your biggest concern after the All-Star break is blank. Fill in the lane.
Boredom. That they just get bored of winning. They just take it for granted. I mean, just think that because they're a really good team, teams are just going to just show up and maybe put up a little bit of fight, and they'll still find a way to persevere. I worry about that because they've been so good for so long that you're just almost like expecting a shoe to fall, where they just don't have it. They just don't have it for a stretch for no apparent reason. And it's not so much the opponent; it's more about them. They have been able to basically stay engaged, stay focused, stay playing with a hearty and consistent edge more nights than not. But I do worry about that downtime where you've got basically more than a week to just kind of kick back, relax, and, drink Mai Tais and whatever the heck you do. Derek White changing babies and changing diapers and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Changing babies.
Changing diapers. I misspoke. I corrected myself before you could speak, Gary. Northside, can relax,
Changing babies
Northside.
and chasing diapers.
Changing
I'll leave
babies.
you alone because it's your birthday.
Damn.
Anyway, I worry about guys just getting bored with the process of winning because they've done everything you're supposed to do up to this point, and coming off the break, you just don't know whether they're still going to have that mindset to just pick up where they left off. I would be worried about that.
And Sherrod says this as he has a very sensitive and kind message. This looks like it's from his son in the background.
Oh,
there.
yeah, something my
Oh,
son
that's very kind
Oh,
and
wow.
touching. And right behind Sherrod, right behind his right shoulder, the son.
Dear son.
Oh, dear son. Oh,
Love Dad? Or
that's very
wait, or
sensitive.
is it from your
Love Dad. It looks like Love Dad. I think it's to his
Yeah.
son. Yeah.
It's to my son.
Yeah.
Aww. Did you do him already?
So he's not changing babies. He's keeping his. So
His baby's a grown man now.
He's a 6'3" grown ass man. Yeah.
Shout out to Isaiah.
No, Isaiah.
You'll see him this week. He's going to be in Indianapolis.
Good. What up, Isaiah? What up?
What's up? Does he listen?
Whatever that is on your chin, Isaiah, take that off. I don't know what that growth is.
There's a mess right here.
I know he got some kind of infection on his chin.
It's just like yours, Gary, except there's no white in his. That's all.
Exactly.
Not the sides.
Exactly.
Wait,
take that off, Isaiah. They got something for that. Anyway.
Does he listen to the podcast?
What's that?
Isaiah? Does Isaiah listen to this podcast?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's always got feedback.
All right.
So
shout out to you, Isaiah. Thank you for listening.
My biggest concern is just not sticking to the good habits, not getting the ball in the paint, not using Porzingis enough, falling in love with the three, as I've always said. Just that would be it. And I think that they have been very good in what's the word I'm looking for? Measured and select their moments to shoot the threes. And they're a great team when they move the ball around and they get them open threes. And the concern is just health. You want everybody to be healthy, no injuries. The one thing this team has done, if you're a Celtic fan, you want to knock on wood, please do, is that they haven't had any prolonged injuries. They haven't had anybody out for any, serious amount of time. Porzingis, and they treat Porzingis like they should with kid gloves. When he tweaks his ankle, hey, get your ass out the game, sit on the bench. We don't need you. Because he obviously 7'3" guy, he's going to have a lot of lower extremity injuries and those type of things and land on people. But he seems well. And that said, I just think if they, like you said, Sherrod, boredom, but also losing the process, trying to skip some steps or getting away from their game plan, because they do have some challenging games. So one good thing, they still got Oklahoma City. They still have 2 games with Phoenix. They still have, at Denver. So they've got some teams that are going to be looking at them as maybe NBA Finals preview, that type of thing. They still got 2 with Milwaukee. They still got 2 with the Knicks. So very challenging games. If they get bored, Sherrod, they're gonna get woke up real quick, right? They're gonna get a wake up call if they start getting bored and feeling like they can just walk on the floor and beat teams. I don't think they'll have that mentality. And I think the schedule, as much as people said, it's going to get softer. You're right. 2 against Washington, Atlanta, a couple against Charlotte, and they got 6 of their last 7 at home. But that schedule still is very challenging. 2 long road trips. They still got to go out west to go play Utah, go play Phoenix, Portland. Not the biggest challenge, and they still got KC. Sacramento's a tricky team. They still got them left. So some tricky, interesting games. A lot of West Coast teams still left. So if you're the Celtics, like Sherrod said, don't lose focus. Don't get bored. Trust the process, and stay with what you're doing and in the game plan and the strategy, and they'll be fine.
Moving on to Jayson Tatum, who we talked about, now a 5-time All-Star, but earlier this week he announced that he's partnering with SoFi on an initiative specifically for his home city of St. Louis. They're committing $1 million to helping him and help others buy homes, which is something that was very close to him because he mentioned growing up with his mother that home ownership wasn't something that was easily accessible. So this was, I think, a really big deal. One, because he has this big corporate sponsorship, but even just seeing him on, was it CBS this morning? Should have been the Today Show, but it's okay.
That suit was tight.
It
was sharp. That was like
very well spoken, but now at a point where when you think about it, obviously the sports world knows who Jayson Tatum is, but when you're on a show like CBS This Morning or the Today Show, it is a different platform and a different audience that you're kind of opening yourself up to. A lot of the people that watch those shows may not watch the NBA, but now they're well informed about this new initiative. But what did you two think about this partnership, and what does it mean for him being more than just an NBA player?
I think for Jayson, it's important not only because of what it means to you, but it frankly opens the window a little bit for others to see that you are more than just a 25 point, 6-7 rebound shot maker who's on a max contract making oodles and oodles of money. It shows that you actually have things that interest you beyond just dribbling a basketball and making shots. We talk a lot about the things that Jaylen Brown does, and Jaylen does quite a bit of things, and he deserves those things to be talked about, and he deserves the praise that comes with that. But I think Tatum Tatum does a lot of things that he doesn't really talk about and doesn't really seek attention. And while there's benefits to that, in order to build your base, to get more people to support the initiatives that you are championing, they need to know they exist. They need to know that that's something that's a space that you want people to know that you occupy, and you want others to have a similar mindset and a similar approach and hopefully help expand and amplify those messages. So it was good to see Jayson in a different kind of space than what people normally see him in. And talking about something that was obviously close and near and dear to his heart. And to me, it's part of when you become more towards that global icon status that the greats become. I mean, think about this. This dude is a 5-time All-Star who's 25 years old. Most guys are looking to get that first, maybe second All-Star nod by the time they get 25, and he's on number 5 already. Clearly, he's on, and there are guys in the Hall of Fame who were maybe 4-time All-Stars. And so he's already, from a basketball standpoint, positioning himself to be one of the all-time greats. And with that status comes pressure and expectations to be more than just a basketball player. And I think this is part of Jayson's, ever-expanding platform to show that he will, when all is said and done, be viewed as being more than just a really good basketball player.
Yeah, I think it's great for Jayson to invest in his own community where he's from in St. Louis, helping single parents, single mothers, invest in property and home ownership. I think it's very important to Jayson to delve into off-court endeavors. And he doesn't, or this is his first time. I think he's done some things on the different level, but this is for him to partner with the league's official bank, and for him to kind of take part in this. And I'm sure he'll have people who monitor and make sure that it's going to the right people and to the right families, and that this money goes for good. Because obviously it sounds good PR wise or whatever, but I think Jayson will make sure that this happens, and he'll continue his crusade to help single mothers, raise their children right, and in terms of having the financial base to make their kids successful, to make themselves successful. And I think that's very important. I think he grew up, and he remembers, growing up with a single mother and the struggles that they went through. And now that he's successful and his mom is a successful lawyer, and, he wants to give back. And I think that's important because a lot of, and I think a lot of the players do that don't talk a lot about it, and we rip a lot of these guys for performances, and everybody can say something about Kyrie Irving, but
I was going to say Kyrie
is a giver
back.
backer. That dude gives to a lot of things. He's paid for some funerals from some people who were killed by police. Like Kyrie does it on the down low. He does not, talk a lot about it, but he gives back a lot. And so I think a lot of these guys get a bad rap. You don't care nothing about money and Instagram followers and whatever. But these guys do care about their community. They grew up in the community. I think all of us do, who came from a community where not everybody succeeded, not everybody had a even and fair opportunity. I think that's what we're all asking for. And I don't know if we'll ever get that, but to start the scale at 0, not -3, where so I think we all the communities we all came from, we see people that just didn't have a chance. Hey, real smart person, just didn't have a chance, made one bad decision, or didn't have the support, or their parents weren't there, whatever situation. So I think this gives Jayson an opportunity to really give back. And he's a St. Louis through and through. And I think for him to start, and hopefully it can spread to other cities. Hopefully he can start doing this in Boston down the road. I'm sure he'll expand and everything. But I think it's great for him to be able to help out his community and help people out and show that, hey, I know I've been there, and I want to help people make sure that they're not there. I want to help uplift people. And that's what the athletes, I think that's what we ask of athletes. And I think that's what a lot do that really don't get talked about. It's not just giving away turkeys on Thanksgiving and doing the PR stuff. It's putting your money where the mouth is. And as Jalen talked about, Black wealth or wealth of people of color in Boston to raise the wealth, to decrease the wealth disparity of Boston from those from advantaged communities to disadvantaged communities, things like that. So I think it's awesome for both of those guys to give back, and especially for Jayson to say, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm starting with St. Louis, and I'm going to help those people out.
Moving on from Tatum, we talked about the MVP conversation just a little bit. Gary touched on it. We can actually, let's quickly talk about it a little more as we transition into our final topic, which is Coach Mazzulla. But you mentioned that the reason why you think he's not necessarily in the MVP conversation, but do you like the way he's been utilized by Coach Mazzulla over the last few months or so? One of you can answer.
I thought you.
Go ahead, Sherrod.
Yeah, I'll go. I like what Joe's doing with him. I think he's trying to unlock Jayson to be a multifaceted, multidimensional talent who teams can't lock in on his ability to score the ball. You have to worry about him as a passer. You have to worry about him as a ball mover now. And when shots go up, you got to worry about him being a rebounder. Doesn't get a ton of offensive rebounds, but defensive rebounding is something that he's gotten much better at. And he just becomes a much more diverse problem for teams. And I think Joe is doing a better job of tapping into that. And I think, that's part of Joe's own personal growth. Just how do you best utilize your best player? I definitely like what I'm seeing out of Tatum. He still takes a few too many threes that I don't particularly care for. I'm pulling my Gary Washburn card, talking about threes. But for the most part, I like what I see out of the way that Joe is utilizing him and his strengths.
Yeah, I definitely think Jayson's taking a step forward this year, become a better all-around player, and I think that's partially because of Mazzulla, and it's because of his natural growth. And I think Mazzulla's done a good job developing those two guys, him and Jalen, and we can, you can nitpick their games and say, oh, they commit too many turnovers or whatever. The thing about it is, in this league, when you see somebody every day, you tend to nitpick their games. When we look at Luka and he's dropping 58 and we're like, oh my God, Luka's great. But then when Luka's doing some crazy stuff or got 8 turnovers, we don't see those games, right? We don't really look at those games closely. So we don't get a chance to nitpick Luka, nitpick Trae Young, or nitpick some of these guys who are, even Giannis, so I think what we do as reporters and the Celtic faithful watch these guys every day, and we're able to nitpick and really break down their games because we see them. We see all 82 games. And so we know the turnovers. We see like Sherrod referred to, the rush threes or the pull-up threes in the early in the shot. And we're like, oh boy, that's not a good shot. So we can nitpick their games, but I think overall, Jayson and Jalen have both had nice, quality, good seasons. Is it MVP caliber? No, because the stats aren't there. But you're talking about overall development of being more playmakers, setting this franchise up to win not one title, maybe multiple titles down the road, because now you've got two playmakers. You got two guys who can do many of the same things. Yes, I think that they're in a good position for that. And that's what you want. When you have two cornerstones like this, you cannot blow it. You can, because many teams have and trade away and all that, just before a guy maybe developed or, it didn't happen. You need to take advantage of this opportunity. I think the Celtics are really trying to now, because they're entering the midpoint of their career. This is not, they're young. Jason's young in age, about to be 26, I think, next month. But he 7, 8 years in, right? 2017 was his rookie year. And we went back to 2017 and saw how different things were, even though it doesn't seem like that long ago. That's a minute ago. Like I was watching, I think one of the old Super Bowls from 2017. I was like, wow, as much as that just seems like a minute ago, it might have been the Patriots-Falcons one. It was just like, damn, that was a minute. Like, wow, the commercial. You look at the commercial, you look at the players in the field, like, damn, that dude's retired. That dude don't play no more. Like, that guy's, you're like, whoa, that was, as much as that doesn't seem like that long ago, that's 7, 8 years ago, And so time flies in this sporting game, as we know. So I think Jayson and Jalen are trying to take advantage of the apex of their career because they're reaching that and they need to. And I think Joe has helped that process.
All right. Well, perfect setup. Our final topic, Mr. Mazzulla. On Wednesday, he won his 100th game. His overall regular season record right now is 100 wins, 37 losses. It's early. I don't ever want to jinx anyone, but I know Boston takes a lot of pride in the coaches that they've had in the past. So how would you stack Joe Mazzulla so far when it comes to his predecessors?
Let's hear it, Gary. You got this one right off the bat.
Well, that's a tall.
I know.
That's a tough comparison. You're talking about Doc, Brad Stevens. We're not even talking about, and then we want to go history. The Casey Jones, Auerbach, Tommy Huntington, Bill Russell. So yeah, he ain't in the top 5.
Clarified.
But let's not get that crazy. But I think he's developing into a quality NBA coach. And he's so damn young, 36. He'll be fine. I don't know if he'll be coaching for another 20 years. I don't think he'll be Greg Popovich or whatever, because, this coaching game can burn a lot, can burn you up and get you tired. But I do think that Mazzulla is turning into a quality coach. He's learning from his players. His players are learning from him. He's understanding how to make things, how to reach out to guys and how to not be so intense maybe in situations. So I think with Mazzulla, he is turning into a quality coach. And that's what you want. That's what the Celtics saw in him when they gave him the job. And obviously, we can rip him from last year. And I know I did plenty of times, especially during the playoffs.
No, you did too.
Yeah. That was, we all, rightfully so, criticized him during that playoff run in the Miami series. But
that's how you get better.
You know what? The circumstances in which he got the job, coaching with a staff, all them dudes had one foot out the door. And I'm sure Ime told a lot of those guys, hey, my next coaching job, you're coming with me. So, those guys are out there looking for houses and places to live and schools for their, they're coaching the Celtics at the same time because they know they're not coming back. And that's a situation obviously nobody wanted, but it happened. Now he's got a comfortable staff, Sam Cassell, Charles Lee, good guys. Our friend Tony Dobbins, a really quality coach. The other guys on that staff, Matt Reynolds, our friend who tells Joe to review it. So it sounds like it's a good family there, good structure. Do it. Don't you see kids now like in the streets?
No, they yep.
Run it back, review it. So I think that Joe is taking that next step forward that the Celtic fans all hope for. Now the next step is the playoffs. When he faces elite coaches, the Spoelstras. Now we'll see how Doc does in Milwaukee and Tibbs in New York. When he faces elite coaches who are going to be game planning for 7 games, how does he respond? We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, well, so far so good. I mean, with Joe, when you look at just the success that he's had, the scenario / situation that he walked into to be the head coach was not only unorthodox, but it increases the degree of difficulty to be a good head coach. Where you go from the second, he's back row Joe to like the man calling shots. For him to make that type of leap is impressive. And when you look at what he's done from a winning percentage standpoint. At this point, for coaches who've won like 100 or more games in Celtics history, the only guys who have a higher winning percentage are like Casey Jones and Bill Fitch. So that's the kind of company that he is in at this point. But obviously, the longer he does this, the more credibility he'll have as an elite coach. But Gary and Kwani, you all know, it always comes back to winning chips. You are not going to be in that upper echelon of coaches in this franchise unless you win a chip. As great as Brad Stevens was from an X's and O's standpoint, he never won a chip. And that's why when you talk about the great coaches that have been here in Boston, Brad Stevens' name ain't going to be one of them. For one reason and one reason only, because he didn't get a chip. But now he has a chance to put someone in position to get a chip, and that person is Joe Mazzulla. And Joe, up to this point, again, he's done a really good job of doing the most fundamental thing that you have to do as a coach, win games. And show growth in the process. And that, when it comes from something as little as how you use your timeouts, when to challenge, when not to challenge, when to just decide that, you know what, we're not going to win this game. I'm taking all my guys off the court. We're just going to pack up and get ready for the next one versus maybe my guys have one more run in them and maybe we can make this a game. Joe's done a better job of figuring out all those different dynamics. He's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but he's definitely better now than he was a year ago. And if he continues to keep growing and improving as a coach at the rate that he has from year 1 to year 2, he's going to be a top 5 all-time coach for the Boston Celtics if he continues on the trajectory that he's on now. Now, it's a little bit easier to make that happen when you got 2 guys like Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown who were in their mid-20s. So he is in many, many ways set up to have the kind of, frankly, success that would allow him to be among the top tier coaches to ever coach in this franchise's history.
I think we're all on the same page. Mazzulla, the ball is in your court. Well, I guess the ball wouldn't be in his court.
Gary, cringe. Just cringe. I wanted to cringe at that one too. The ball's in your court. It's your birthday, Kwani. It's your birthday, though.
It is. I could get away with a lot today.
You can get away with that.
Well, that's all we have for this week's episode. We appreciate you listening and enjoying this roller coaster of a journey as we talked about my birthday, and then we talked about the Celtics, and then we talked about my birthday some more.
Did she mention that it's her birthday, y'all?
It's her birthday? I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
If you made it to the end of this episode, you are a real one. I just need you to know that. But we appreciate you all. Shout out to our sponsors, Indeed.com, HelloFresh, and FanDuel. And until next week, enjoy the NBA All-Star Weekend, my friends. Carrie, are you there already?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm in Indianapolis.
All right. We have a man on the ground. Please report back every development that occurs.
I will. No problem.
We appreciate you so much. And we thank you guys again for listening. We'll be back next week.